Hello, friends. My name is Jason Clemens, and this is episode 13 of the Big Book Study. We're starting page 44, chapter 4, We Agnostics. In the preceding chapters, you have learned something of alcoholism. We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. If, when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if, when drinking, you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. To one who feels he is an atheist or agnostic, such an experience seems impossible. But to continue as he is means disaster, especially if he is an alcoholic of the hopeless variety. To be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis are not always easy alternatives to face. But it isn't so difficult. About half our original fellowship were of exactly that type. At first, some of us tried to avoid the issue, hoping against hope we were not true alcoholics. But after a while, we had to face the fact that we must find a spiritual basis of life, or else. Perhaps it is going to be that way with you. But cheer up, something like half of us thought we were atheists or agnostics. Our experience shows that you need not be disconcerted. If a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. But we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried. We could wish to be moral, we could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could wish these things with all our might. We could wish to be moral, we could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could will these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves. Obviously, but where and how were we to find this power? Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself which will solve your problem. That means we have written a book which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral, and it means, of course, that we are going to talk about God. Here, difficulty arises with agnostics. Many times, we talk to a new man and watch his hope rise as we discuss his alcoholic problems and explain our fellowship. But his face falls when we speak of spiritual matters, especially when we mention God, for we have reopened a subject which our man thought he had neatly evaded or entirely ignored. We know how he feels. We have shared his honest doubt and prejudice. Some of us have been violently anti-religious. To others, the word God brought up a particular idea of him with which someone had tried to impress upon them during childhood. Perhaps we rejected this particular conception because it seemed inadequate. With that rejection, we imagined we had abandoned the God idea entirely. We were bothered with the thought that faith and dependence upon a power beyond ourselves was somewhat weak, even cowardly. We looked upon this world of warring individuals, warring theological systems, and inexplicable calamity with deep skepticism. We looked askance at many individuals who claimed to be godly. How could a supreme being have anything to do with it all? And who could comprehend a supreme being anyhow? Yet in other moments we found ourselves thinking, when enchanted by a starlit night, who then made all this? There was a feeling of awe and wonder, but it was fleeting and soon lost. And we'll pick up with the first full paragraph on page 46 tomorrow. Let's go to the study portion. Today, we are in chapter 4, We Agnostics, page 44. We should start by defining some terms. Agnostic consists of two parts. A, which is a prefix from the Greek for without, and Gnostic, which is knowledge. With this in mind, our definition of agnostic is without knowledge of God. Although used interchangeably, agnostic and atheist mean two very different things. To be atheist is to claim that there is no God, as opposed to being without knowledge of God, agnostic. How many times have we seen lists of questions that will allow you to diagnose your own alcoholism? 10, 20, 50 questions each. Starting at paragraph 1 on page 44, we find that there are 2 questions. Question 1, if when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or question 2, if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. Reading through to the top of page 45, several powerful statements are made. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. What does that mean? What does that tell us about willpower? About human resources, the fellowship, alone? About our ability to win in hand-to-hand combat with the alcoholic obsession? At the top of paragraph 1, lack of power, that was our dilemma, powerlessness. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves, obviously. But where and how were we to find this power? Now we come to the purpose of the big book and the desired result of the AA program of action. Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object, and the object of the AA program, is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself which will solve your problem. Let's turn back for a second to the foreword to the first edition. The second sentence says the following: to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. This sentence was written in all caps in the first edition of the book. To recover from alcoholism, we need to find a power greater than ourselves with which to solve our problem. This book has all of the directions necessary to bring about permanent recovery from alcoholism, which is our common problem. The answers are within the textbook, and throughout the coming weeks we will continue to delve into the solution. One of the things I was thinking about regarding this chapter is the name We Agnostics, not The Agnostics. I mean, it's almost as if they assumed that everyone was an agnostic. Anyone care to explore why they named this chapter the way they did? With our next post, we will continue on page 46. Have a great day.